5 minutes for questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Admiral. Again, thank you for coming to testify before our subcommittee. The Coast Guard plays such an important role, as you've already touched on a number of topics, from interdiction and defense, just such a necessary line of helping to keep our country safe. And under President Trump's leadership, obviously, we are seeing a renewed investment and a renewed commitment to that promise to keep America safe. I hear you talk about investment in a modernized fleet, expanded maritime enforcement capabilities. All those things, I think, make Iowans feel good. Even though we're between two rivers, we like to know that our coasts are safe, but also, obviously, Iowa has a very significant Coast Guard presence with a fleet that needs upgrading. So that's going to be my line of questioning today, because we are, Iowa in Dubuque is home to the home port for the cutter Wyaconda, which is 60 years old. So a nice old ship celebrating its 60th anniversary at the end of this month. Absolutely vital in keeping the upper Mississippi navigable for us, but it comes down to supporting our farmers, our producers, being able to get things to market up and down the Mississippi River safely and efficiently. So these legacy cutters have served our country well, but they're showing their age, and so we must, I believe, move quickly to replace them with more modern vessels that can keep up with today's demands. So we know that Coast Guard has initial approval for this program, so do you agree that it is time to prioritize building these new cutters to make sure we can deploy them and get them into service without delay?
Representative Hinson, it certainly is important. Most people think of the Coast Guard certainly along the coast or at sea, but we're just as present in America's heartland, in our Great Lakes and in the inland rivers and waterways, including in your district. So we have a recapitalization program for those construction tenders and those river tenders that are so vital to keeping life-saving commerce going throughout the United States and to markets overseas. So the Waterways Commerce Cutter was just approved by the Department of Homeland Security to enter initial production for the first 8. That's being built by Birdon, is the shipbuilder down in Bayou La Batterie, Alabama. And so those cutters, state-of-the-art, will replace the aging but still very viable cutters like Wyaconda that operates in a home port out of Dubuque, and provide the critical services necessary to keep commerce moving, which is vital to our economic prosperity.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad we share that priority. Do you have any insight into potential home ports for those cutters once they come off of the line and they're done being built in Louisiana?
Congresswoman, I don't have a home port decision on all of the Waterways Commerce Cutters that will be built. Some of them, or they will be larger than many of the existing ones, and so we'll have to assess what the infrastructure needs are as we go forward, but we look forward to working with members of the committee as we make those decisions, along with the administration.
Thank you for that. My last question today, you know, I heard you talk about how important interdiction is. You mentioned Florida and the Caribbean being the other element of the southern border. We think about the Rio Grande and the states, but really it's about what's happening at sea in preventing those bad actors, particularly many of those who are backed by international criminal gangs or adversarial governments like the CCP from being able to exploit our U.S. ports and waterways. And we know PRC is one of the leading sources of counterfeit goods coming into our country, illegal transshipments, trying to get around our trade laws, deceptive shipping practices, right? They use that transnational shipment constantly to get around sanctions enforcement. So can you speak a little to the Coast Guard's role in enforcing and identifying and then interdicting those types of shipments in coordination maybe with other agencies under Homeland Security?
Representative Hinson, we work very closely with other parts of Homeland Security and the intelligence community to enforce the U.S. Requirements and restrictions on illegal or unauthorized shipments, particularly by those states that sponsor those shipments that we prevent from coming into the country. And we are concerned about the activities of the CCP, whether it's illegal movement of goods that are prohibited for entry, or whether it's presenting threats in cyberspace to our maritime critical infrastructure. And we've been busy, not only our operational commanders in the Atlantic and Pacific area, but Coast Guard Cyber Command, working with the Department of Homeland Security and others to make sure that we can improve the cybersecurity of our port critical infrastructure so that others that may seek to hold it at risk will be unable to do so. And the American people can be sure that infrastructure is resilient and can withstand the threat of any attack or disruption.
Are you utilizing AI at all in that technology? You mentioned the cyberspace specifically, but are you using any of those technologies to help track or even anticipate potential attacks or need for interdiction?
We are using AI technology with others in the cyber operations space, with U.S. Cyber Command and CISA within the Department of Homeland Security. And I can follow up with more specifics about how we use that.
That'd be great. And if we need to go into SCIF to talk about that, happy to do that. Thank you very much, sir. I yield back.
Thank you. The ranking member of the full committee, Ms. DeLauro, you are recognized for 5 minutes for your questions.
Pleased to you, Mr. Chairman and ranking member, and to Admiral